Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello dear learners, welcome to the session of Managing Equality and Diversity. I am Dr. Supriya Jain, working as an Associate Professor at GLA University, Mathura. So we are going to start with our lecture number 3, and here we will have our discussion on job attitude. If you look at the topics what we are going to cover in our lecture 3, we will start with the understanding of attitude, how attitudes are related with the behavior, understanding of job attitude, and the job attitude will always be covering about job satisfaction, like what will be the outcome if the employees are happy with their jobs and what would be the impact of job dissatisfaction. So overall with this session you will be able to understand how important attitude is and how the behavior of an individual can be converted and checked with the help of the understanding their attitude. If you look at the learning objective of this session, by the end you will be able to contrast the 3 components of the attitude that we will be covering. You will be able to summarize the relationship between the attitude and the behavior. We will be able to compare the major job attributes, identify the 2 approaches for measuring the job satisfaction. You could be summarizing the main cause of job satisfaction. You will be able to identify 4 outcomes of job satisfaction and will also be able to identify 4 employee responses to job dissatisfaction. So I hope all of you have understood what will be the learning of today's session. Let's begin with the understanding of this word attitude. So this word is not, something which is new to you. You must have heard of it, this word many times, and you must have some kind of an understanding what attitude refers to. But here with this session you will have a clear understanding how important an employee attitude is towards the people, towards the objects, towards the events, because this attitude is overall going to reflect your behavior about things, whether you would be positive towards it or you would be negative towards it. So attitude are generally being considered as in judgments or evaluative statements which we provide towards the events, objects as well as people. Our attitude could be favorable or it could be unfavorable depending upon our liking and disliking of the things. So they reflect about how are we feeling. When we say, if you will ask a person like how do you feel about your job, if a person says I like my job, then definitely you can understand that the attitude of this person towards his or her job is positive. Whereas if somebody says that I does not like my job, I don't like my job, then they are showing their unfavorable attitude towards it. So attitude is something which is not very easy to understand. It is also very, very complex. Sometimes people are not able to understand how they are feeling, like what is their analysis, what is their judgment about their actions. So you need to understand how this attitude forms. So attitude formation comprises of 3 important aspects which we generally called as ABC model, where A stands for effective, B stands for behavioral, and C stands for cognitive component. So these 3 components are of major importance in understanding the attitude of a person towards anything. So when we talk about the cognitive component, it is basically the belief segment of an attitude. Whatever the things we are talking about, we have to understand whether we have the right belief towards that particular thing or not. It is all related to your thinking, how well you are operating with those aspects, what kind of a reasoning and logical aspects you are relating to that particular thing will create your cognitive component. Whereas effective component is more related to a feeling, right? It is somewhere you are keeping some kind of emotions towards that particular object, place or person, right? Whereas behavioral component reflects the certain way towards something. see your habit, you know your attitude towards something, whether you are repeating those things again and again, will show your behavioral component. So all these three components are very, very important in the understanding of attitude. Let me take you to an example where you would be able to understand this framing of attitude based on these components. So like I said, affective refers to the feeling, behavioral refers to the action. If you have a positive feeling towards something, then your actions would be according to it, you would be showing your actions in favor of that particular thing. Whereas if your feelings are negative, like for example, suppose you are preferring some kind of a brand towards the car, right. Say for an example, if a person is buying a car, that particular person is going to understand these three components, whether the attitude of a person towards that brand would be positive or not, or favorable or unfavorable. So effectiveness means refer to, like, I like buying this particular car because I have certain kind of an emotion with it, attached to it, right, because previously also I was driving this particular brand and I have certain emotions which are associated with it, right. So cognitive behavior says these cars are very, very, mileage is very good, they are very having a good build also, you can say they are very comfortable. So this is all going to be related with the evaluation aspect which you are going to keep in the cognitive aspect, and what will reflect in your behavior, it will you are going to buy up this particular car again. So again we are going to understand these three aspects based on the certain example. Like effective feeling says I dislike my supervisor, right. A person is having an unfavorable or negative feeling towards his or her supervisor. If you look at the behavioral action, I am looking for other work. This person is not happy with the place because he is not having the positive attitude towards the supervisor. Now the person is going to look for another job, right. I have complained about my supervisor to anyone who would listen, because this person is not having a right feeling towards that person. And cognitive behavior behind this particular aspect is because this person is not liking the supervisor, as his co-workers has got the promotion instead of him, because he himself considered that his work or his performance was better than him. Besides, he would get the promotion, his co-worker has been promoted by the supervisor. So this kind of a cognitive understanding, the evaluation which has been made by this person in his mind, has affected his feeling towards positive or negative aspects, and which resulted into the action which we called as behavioral component, that this person is not happy with the job or maybe looking for the another job. So all these things will create a negative attitude towards an supervisor. So it is basically something or some logic or reasoning behind framing an attitude of a person towards an object, towards a person, towards a event. Now moving further, in organization, attitudes are important for their behavioral component. Since we are talking about the organization setup, and the subjects which we are discussing is all related to the organization behavior, where we are trying to have a right attitude of our people, so that we can have them, we can have their behavior in the respective manner we are looking forward for. So understanding how this commitment is formed and how it might be changed is essential for the manager. As a manager, we need to understand what are the things which we need to make sure in the organization, and because of all these things we are trying to create a positive work environment. We are trying to engage our people in the manner where they could be able to have some cognitive understanding, where they could be able to evaluate the aspects which are being provided to them at the workplaces, and they could be able to have some kind of an effective component based on that, because ultimately their behavior, their actions will be based on their cognitive component. So amongst all the three components which we have discussed so far, behavioral component or the this cognitive component is very important for forming of a attitude of an individual. And you will be surprised to know that some research from the Netherlands suggest that the cognitive component is the most important. This is what I was telling, right. So research also have proved that cognitive component is the most important amongst all the three components in forming the right attitude of an individual, because you always put some kind of an evaluation against this, whether this particular thing is going to give me certain benefits or not. If that particular thing is going to create certain benefits towards you, then definitely you will have a positive behavior towards that particular thing, and your attitude will become positive. Now, to understand it further, how we are relating this attitude with the behavior. So far we have understood how this attitude forms, and our understanding of attitude is important because we know that attitude helps the person to behave in a certain way. Attitude is the main reason how this person is going to behave, right? What will be their action? So, certain powerful characteristics are there which are going to make you understand the relationship between the attitude and the behavior. Like the very first talks about the importance of the attitude, right? How important is the attitude of a person towards the workplace is one of the most important characteristics which is going to make you understand how you are going to judge the behavior of that individual. Then you have to initially understand how this attitude is going to correspond to the behavior, right? Whether you are looking forward this behavior is going to create a positive impact or it is going to create a negative impact. Then this attitude also have the understanding of accessibility, like how this attitude is going to be assessed in the organization and how the person is going to keep their feelings, right? So, what are the measurement they are keeping in their mind for the assessment of the attitude. Then there is also a presence of a social pressure, because we are a part of a society, right? We also have our own judgments, and at the same time we also frame our attitude and perception based on the society or based on the groups we are a part of it, right? So, certain reasoning, certain attachments comes from the social pressures which will make us understand to have the favorable or unfavorable judgments about certain things. And lastly, our own experience with the understanding of any object, place or event, right? If a person is having a good experience about something, like if somebody asks you, you have gone for a vacation, you have taken a place for staying, right? So, generally people take your feedback, what is your attitude towards that particular thing. If your stay was comfortable, if you are happy with all the things which are being provided to you during your stay, then you will be having a very good experience, you would be having a very good attitude towards that particular place, right? But because you had a personal experience towards it. And sometimes we also frame our attitude based on the other opinion, like if I am taking the opinion of somebody else, then I am also trying to keep a positive attitude towards that particular place, because I have taken the feedback of other people. So, it is related to both aspects. Sometimes we frame our attitude based on our own personal experience, and sometimes we create it through the observations and the feedback which are being provided by the people. Now, moving further, important attitudes reflects our fundamental values, right? So, whatever the way we are behaving, whatever the attitude we are presenting, they are reflecting our fundamental values. It is also the indicator of our self interest, like what we are liking, what are our liking and disliking, our identifications with the individuals or groups we value. Our attitude generally reflects the part of a company or the part of a group we belongs to. And this shows the strong relationship between our behavior. How are we going to behave with each other and how we are going to form a circle, right? Generally in the organization we have two set of groups. One are being considered as in formal groups and the other are being considered as an informal group. So, formal groups are generally those which are being associated by the organization. They have defined such kind of informal group. But informal group, when we talk about, they are generally the part of our attitudes, our behavior, our liking and disliking. So, people who have same kind of interest, who have same values, who have same set of beliefs, they generally form the group. So, it is very important again for a manager to understand, to create such groups in the organization which are in the favor of the activities which are being taken up for the betterment of the organization. If people will be a part of a negative group, then it will be difficult for a manager to create a positive environment in the office space. Now, the important aspect of this attitude is also covering a major topic which is called as cognitive dissonance. So it is important for us to understand what this particular word means. Cognitive dissonance is something when you have when a person holds two or more conflicting beliefs about some idea or some values. Okay. So till far we have discussed about the attitude, where we are saying that whether a person is positive or negative, whether you are having a favorable views or unfavorable views about certain things. But a cognitive dissonance is something which is going to come when you have two or more conflicting beliefs about something, right. If for a same thing you are sometimes you are saying that this is right, or you are sometimes believing this is wrong. So this kind of a cognitive dissonance happens when we are having two or more beliefs, ideas or values about certain things. So this create a sense or mental discomfort, right. So whenever a person is going through this cognitive dissonance, this kind of a mental discomfort is going to be created, and generally all people goes through this cognitive dissonance, right. It is not a condition where one person is feeling the set of cognitive dissonance. It is generally happen with each and every people, where they change their belief, their behavior and justifying in inconsistency. So to make you more clear about this cognitive dissonance, let us take one example where people are very much aware about the situation of smoking as well as their health. As a human being, we all know that smoking is injurious to health, but a person who smokes, right, and knows that smoking is harmful, and their health experiences and their health experience is also going to create a cognitive dissonance. Now this person, how this person is going to satisfy himself, right. So this person, there are two things which a person can do. One is either they can change their behavior. If they are very much aware of this health condition, then the one thing which they should do is they should change their behavior and they should quit smoking. But cognitive change, what they do is downplaying the negative health effect of smoking or rationalizing that it's not that bad, and they will quit it later. So what does it mean? That the person is somewhere or the other is justifying him or herself that he or she knows that smoking is not good for health. Rather than quitting, the person is the person is taking this kind of an understanding, this kind of a dissonance they are creating, that this is not going to create a bad impact on their health, or they will be reducing it very soon. So cognitive dissonance is that kind of a behavior where you are not very sure of what you would be doing, or you are trying to justify your aspects by taking this kind of an action. The another example will be in case of a ethical dilemma, you can say, right. Sometimes what happen in the organization, if a person is having a belief that honesty and fairness are of utmost importance, right. So this person is having a very high moral or very high value system, but if a person is not able to find such kind of a practices taking place in the organization, right, or this person witnesses any kind of an unethical practices at the workplace, then how this person is going to behave? Again, there are two things which a person can do. One, they can change their behavior. Either they can speak out against the unethical practices, they can raise their voice, right. So they can come out and whistle the noise, whistle the blow, where they can tell the people about the unethical practices or unfair means they are putting up for keeping their position higher in the market. Whereas they can also take the another thing, that is rationalizing their inaction by telling themselves that speaking out would be bad for their career, or that is not their responsibility. So here this person is having two mindset, having two belief. The very first is either you should come out and speak out about what wrong things and wrong practices are happening here, since you are not of that belief system, or on the other hand this person is trying to satisfy himself or herself that this is not the part of their job, and if they would be doing it, it would going to create a negative effect on their career. So cognitive dissonance is a very important component of attitude, where we need to understand how this person is going to behave. Certain things which we know are not right, which are not going in the correct directions, right. So where people are knowing that what is right for them, they know it very well, but they don't want to get into it because they consider themselves that if we would be doing certain things, that they might not going to create a positive effect on it. So, the three important aspects which we are going to talk about cognitive dissonance are: the desire to reduce dissonance depends upon the factor. The very first is the importance of the element. So, the importance of elements is going to help you in understanding or making out decision or the choices how you would be behaving against it, right. If a element is utmost important, where you have understood that smoking is indirectly or directly affecting your health largely, right, and you are seeing those symptoms, right. So, definitely you will be taking out the decision where you would be quitting your smoking habit, right. The second one is the degree of influence we believe we have over those elements. This is again important, right, how much those things are in our control. Like the previous two examples which we have talked about, in the very first example the things were in our control, right. We were the person, or I am the person who has to decide whether I should smoke or not. So, if the degree of influence is in my hand, I believe I can do it, then definitely I can make out a choice. But in the second example which we have discussed here, the choice is not in your hand, because whatever the wrong things are being are being done through the organization is not directly in your control, right, where you can definitely stop them by raising your voice against it, but you do not have that kind of a control on those particular things. And the another important thing which is there associated with the cognitive dissonance is the reward of dissonance. What benefit you are going to get, right. If a reward will be there, quitting the smoke will improve your health, then definitely you would be making out that choice, you will take out that decision. But if the reward of dissonance would be negative, right, if you would be raising your noise against the organization and the organization has lot of power and you will not be able to find against such things, right, and you might be able to lose your job. So, definitely you will be keeping yourself quiet and you will be keeping this kind of an understanding in your mind that this is not your responsibility, and you will be able to understand yourself, you would be able to justify things yourself that this is not your responsibility and this is not a part of your job, right. So, cognitive dissonance is something where people are not able to decide how they have to behave, how particularly they have to show their actions, and many a times in the organizations an employee has to go with all such kind of an understanding where they are not clear whether they should behave in the favor of certain things or against it. Now, coming to the important aspect of the organization, we are going to talk about job attitude. So far we have discussed about the attitude and how this attitude is related to the behavior, because we are talking about setting the right behavior of employees in the organization so that we would be able to get the results. Now, we will have our understanding on the job attitude. Job attitude is the attitude of a person towards the job, right. And since we are doing our study on the organization behavior, so we are more focused in understanding how people are behaving, how they are showing their behavior towards the work which are being given to them, whether they are forming the positive association to it or negative association to it. So, this kind of understanding is important for our knowledge. Under the job attitude, we have to find out the organization identification, right. So, organization identification is a component which reflects the attitude of a person towards the job. If a person identify himself or herself with the organization, then definitely the person is having a positive attitude. So, it is basically the extent to which an organization define themselves by the same characteristics that defines their organization. If you are associated, if you are attached with your organization, if you identify yourself with your organization, then your commitment, then your attitude towards your organization would always be favorable. But if people are not identifying themselves, they are just going for the job just for the sake of earning, just for getting money, and they are not happy with the organization policies, or maybe they are not feeling associated with the work which is being assigned to them, then their performance will be affected and their attitude will be negative. So, a review of 100 of job attitude studies found that organization identification strongly predict job attitude formation, right. So, if a person is able to identify himself or herself with the organization, that will have a positive attitude formation. So, beyond organizational identification, there are other attributes also which help us in the understanding how the person is going to behave, what will be their attitude towards their job. So, the first three components or the attributes which we would be discussing are the job satisfaction, job involvement and organizational commitment, whereas other critical attitudes which includes like perceived organizational support as well as employees engagement. So, now let us talk about the first two attribute, that is job satisfaction and job involvement. So, job satisfaction is not a very easy thing which we generally say that people are happy with their job is being considered as a job satisfaction. Definitely this is how we define job satisfaction, but how this job satisfaction comes, how people get satisfied with their job is more important for us to understand, because ultimately we are talking about formation of an attitude of an individual, and since this attitude of an individual is going to have lot of impact on the behavior, how they would be behaving in the organization. So, job satisfaction is obviously a positive feeling, right, and resulting from the evaluation of its characteristics like how they are being treated, what kind of a work is being provided to them, in what set of environment they are being supposed to work, right, whatever the aspects of job is being given to them, are they happy with all those components or not, will give you the understanding of job satisfaction. Whereas job involvement is important, is the important aspect in understanding how involved you are into your job, right. Job satisfaction means I am happy with the jobs, I am happy with all the things which are being provided to me, right. Whereas job involvement means how actively you are identifying yourself with the job activities, how much you are participating in those things, right, and consider performance importance of the self-worth, how much you are engaging yourself, that is being called as job involvement, right. So, job satisfaction and job involvement would be the another two indicators which will help in understanding your attitude towards the job. If a person is happy and positive towards the job, and if a person is actively participating in the activities and considering him or herself as utmost importance to do the work which has been assigned to the person, will consider to be as a positive attitude formation in the organization. The another important aspect here is psychological empowerment, right. Psychological empowerment is a belief of an employee, right, where this psychological is the mindset which is being framed for the employee, where employee is keeping this understanding that the organization is empowering them, right. Organization is giving them the autonomy to work, right. They are giving meaningful jobs, right. Autonomy in the work as well as competencies, right. They are being put to the challenging work environment, right. So, psychological empowerment is very important to have job satisfaction and to get involved in their job, because in today's time, as we all know, people are looking forward to have autonomy in their work, right. They are looking forward to work like more in a challenging environment where they could be able to showcase their talent, and they can get all the benefits in the organization which will help them to complete their assignments and complete their jobs in a right manner. So, the more powered employees are more likely to perform well and engage in organizational citizenship behavior and will be more creative. So, here one more word comes out with the psychological empowerment, that is organizational citizenship behavior. So, organizational citizenship behavior will only be reflected if a person is feeling associated with the organization, they consider themselves to be a citizen, right. So, whenever it is being asked from them how they consider their organization or how they view their organization, they will always feel associated with the organization where they are working, because they consider themselves to be a citizen, right. So, citizenship behavior, like we are Indian citizens, right. So, what does it mean? It means that we are having that kind of a belongingness with our country. The same way, if an employee is able to develop that kind of a citizenship behavior with the organization, This will always be a very strong and a powerful thing for an organization, where employees are showing this citizenship behavior, where the manager need not have to tell them again and again what is to be done and how it is to be done. They will use their cognitive model. Like in the previous session, we have discussed about cognitive model of OB, right? So where we have created this kind of a mindset of an individual, that whatever work they are needing in the organization, whatever the support they would be needed in the organization, would be provided by the management. They are getting full autonomy, they are happy with the jobs environment which has been provided to them, and they are seeking their active participations in the organization. Now coming to the another term which we called as organizational commitment. Organizational commitment refers to the degree of an employee identify with the particular organization and its goals and wishes to maintain membership in the organization. So if a person is committed towards the organization, that this person will always be ready to perform, and this person will going to showcase their 100% talent in the organization. So commitment to be comprises of 3 components. Again, how this commitment comes, right? Why an employee feel committed to the organization, what kind of aspects make them committed towards the work which has been assigned to them. So the very first is the effective commitment, then we have normative commitment, and finally we have continuance commitment. So effective commitment reflects the emotional attachment, right, to an involvement in the organization. If a person is relatively emotionally attached with the organization, if an organization is taking care of your things, right, or maybe at certain time of emergency or certain time of need, organization stood by you and your family, right. So their kind of an effective commitment comes with the organization, where person becomes emotionally connected, even if a organization is not providing them the certain level of pay or not providing them promotions regularly, but this person is having this effective commitment to the organization and will always be associated with the organization. Whereas normative commitment reflects to the sense of obligation an employee feels to an organization. Certain times you feel obliged, right, whether your organization has done certain things for you as well as for your family, where you feel obliged about it. So when that obligation comes in your mind, you becomes committed towards the workplace where you are doing your job. And then last is known as continuance commitment, reflects employees' consideration of the cost of leaving an organization and drive to continue as an employee. And such kind of commitment comes when you are afraid of losing your organization, because you don't know whether you would be able to get another job or not, right. So organization commitment is of different kind, depending upon the individual, depending upon the requirement, depending upon the commitments you are showing towards the organization. If you are emotionally connected, if you are attached with the people, you are having good relationship with the managers or the employers, where you have good understanding of each other, in that case you will show your effective commitment, where you would be working in the organization because of those emotions, right. Whereas normative commitment is more related to the obligation, right. So if you are obliged in certain way by your organization in certain situation or certain need of hour, then you must be feeling that obligation and you would be performing your duties with utmost sincerity to show that obligation towards it. Whereas continuance commitment is where you would be having this kind of a mindset. Certain times of continuous commitments happens when the economy slow downs, like in the case of economic slowdown or COVID-19, people were able to associated with the organization just because they are not sure, very sure whether they would be able to get any kind of a job in another in another company or maybe in the another industry. So this kind of commitment is called as continuance commitment. Then we have this perceived organizational support. So in today's time, many of the researchers are also working on such components, and many of these studies are being done related to this perceived organizational support. So this perceived organization support is our perception towards the supports which we are getting from the organization. if an employee believes that this organization is supporting us in each and every way, then we are always going to have a positive attitude towards the organization. So, it is the degree to which employee believe that the organization value their contribution and cares about their well-being. And if an employer is able to create this perceived organizational support towards their employees, then definitely they would be benefited with all such things, because this will create an understanding in the mind of an employee that they are being valued, they are being taken care of, right. So, if such kind of an understanding will be there, then the association with the organization would be much stronger. So, people perceive their organization as supportive when they are being treated fairly, right, by the organization member, when they have high quality relationship with the organization, when they perceive that the organization help them to be supportive, departmental, developmental as well as fair. So, this kind of perception comes definitely with the policies, with the actions which are being taken up by the management, and in today's time organizations are working hard to create such kind of perceived organizational supports. Now, job satisfaction is not the only thing which they are understanding, whether the happy employees, whether the employees are happy in the organization or not, whether they are satisfied with the work or not. Maybe the satisfied employee is not able to show the 100% of their performance. If we want them to behave in a certain manner, then we have to create this kind of an understanding where we are looking forward about these terms, where organization commitment should be there in their mind, where they should be having the understanding of perceived organizational support, where they always believe that the organization is there to support them and to help them in every manner, whatever work they are doing in the benefit of the organization. So, an excellent example is R&D engineer. Here you can understand this person John Guinea, whose POS is sky high because CEO Mark Benoff and 350 fellow Salesforce.com employee covered all his medical expenses and stayed in touch with him throughout his recovery after he was diagnosed with leukemia, right. So, this employee is keeping this perceived organization support very high, because during the time of his health problem, right, the organization CEO has taken all the expenses, medical expenses, and were always also in a continuous touch, asking the person whether this person has recovered from the problem or not. So, no doubt stories like that part of why Salesforce.com was in the top 10 of the Fortune 100 best companies to work for in 2020. So, you can see the companies are setting such example. TCS is one of them, right, Tata Infosys, right, where we are saying that people are working hard, right, organizations are working hard to make their people feel as a part of their family. Now, they are no more treating the employees as employees, rather they are treating their employees as a family, where they can create that kind of an understanding that organizations are there to support them, they are the part of the system and they are very important for the organization. So, if this kind of an understanding develop, then definitely an employee feel associated, they have that kind of an organizational support, where they would be ready to do whatever the organization is looking forward from them. Now, another important term is called as employee engagement. Employee engagement is again very important for the organization's perspective, where we would be able to engage our employees and we would be able to make them enthusiastic in their jobs. So, degree of enthusiasm an employee feel in the job, for the job they are doing, is considered to be as an employee engagement, right. So, employee engagement in many ways represents a combination of attitude, that is the satisfaction as well as the commitment, right. So, the two aspects which we have covered so far, job satisfaction and job involvement, would be more or less outcome of job engagement, where people shows their devotion and they are giving their heart and soul towards their work for what is being assigned to them. So, we know that highly engaged employees have a passion for the work and feel deep connected to their companies if they are being engaged well, whereas if the employees are not engaged properly, then they are not going to put their energy and they will not pay attention to their work. So, this becomes an important, and whenever we talk about the branding of employees, how to attract good people, how to retain the best of the talents in the organization, this becomes a complex situation, right. This becomes a complex aspect for every organization, and because of this all such engagement practices people are following, how differently they can make people associated with the organization, and the culture which we are seeing in today's time helps the organization in creating such environment and creating such example where they can engage their employees in a positive manner. Looking forward to have the understanding of job attitude in the gig economy. So, gig economy is a buzzing word, right. People are having different understanding of their work in today's time. They do not like to do their jobs from starting from 9 and ending at 5 in the evening. So, people are having this kind of an understanding that they want to work as a freelancer, but job in attitude towards the gig economy are generally positive regarding the flexibility and autonomy, because people in today's time requires a lot of flexibility. They want to have the autonomy in doing their work, right. So, they generally work as a freelancer, but definitely these aspects which are creating a positive attitude, there are certain aspects also associated with the gig economy which sometimes create a negative understanding, right. So, look at the negative aspects or the negative attitude and challenges people face in the gig economy. The positive attitude, let us discuss first. The very first is the flexibility and autonomy. For sure, if a person is allowed to do job as per their own terms and conditions, there is no restriction of time, there is no foundation of offices where they have to work, they feel more flexible, and this flexibility and autonomy give them the positive feeling where they try to develop the positive attitude. Job satisfaction will be there because this is the kind of arrangement they have chosen for it, right. They feel happy when they work as per their terms and condition, and that gives them the job satisfaction. And definitely with this they would be able to have a work life balance, because it is not a rigid job, they are doing work as per their convenience, as per their freedom and autonomy, right. So, more work life balance is there for such kind of employees. So, their attitude towards such jobs will become positive. But what negative attitudes and challenges they face is job insecurity and income instability. Definitely such kind of freelancers, their jobs are not permanent. So, we were discussing about the positive attitude and the negative attitude and challenges what an employee face in the gig economy. So, keeping our consideration on the negative attitude and challenges, the very first is job insecurity and income stability. We all know that this kind of a setup does not provide any kind of job security, right. And if you are working till the time you are getting paid, and if you are not working, you are not being paid. So, here in this kind of a system, job security is not there, their income is not stable. Second is the lack of benefits they would be getting from the organization when they would have been permanent, right. Since they are working for a part-time basis, so the organizations where the permanent employees are able to get certain benefits, they are not getting. Potential for exploitation will also be there, because the organization policies, their rules and regulations are for the permanent employees, where they are not going to be the part of such policies where they feel exploited. Stress and isolation could also be there, because sometimes they feel isolated, they are not the part of the system, right, and they just have to work as per their independence. Associations will not be there with them, so they feel isolated, and certain times this kind of a situation creates lot of stress, because as we say that human being is a social animal, right. So, certain things when we work in isolation also creates lot of stress and pressures, since job security will also not be there and income instability will be there, right. And certain times there are ethical concerns also, because when you work in such kind of a system, there are not defined rules for rules and regulations for such kind of people, right. Because a setup where you are legally working, whether you are having some kind of a legal concern also, but here certain rules and regulations are not being defined, which can cause ethical concern. So depending upon the nature of work and what kind of attitudes, attributes are going to have an impact on your understanding will create your understanding or create your attitude towards the gig economy. Now let us have an understanding of conditions, what causes job satisfaction, right. When we have talked about job satisfaction, that means a positive attitude towards our job, but what are the conditions, what are the causes which is going to give this satisfaction towards your job? The very first is definitely job condition, right. So whatever the conditions are being provided at the job will define your satisfaction towards it. If you are being provided training in the organization, if you are being provided independence, control, safety is there, right, feedback, support, social support system is there, you are able to interact well with the employees, like if the given conditions in the job are favorable, if they are good, then definitely you will be happy doing your job and you would be happy with the system which is being provided to your organization. Another important aspect of job satisfaction is the personality and individual differences. It is not only the conditions which are being provided with the job, it is also a person's personality which is going to create a major understanding on the job satisfaction. Generally what is being seen, intelligent people, right, the people who are having this core self evaluation, okay. So they feel more satisfied and happy with the job as compared to the people, those who do not have this core self evaluation aspect. So what it means that it's not only the conditions which needs to be favorable, it is also the personality and the individual differences of a people who makes the understanding whether this person will be happy or satisfied with the job or not, right. Since people have different, certain people are happy with doing whatever the work is being given to them, certain people are of mindset where they always be complaining, right. To the best of the things you would be provided to them, but their personality is never ever happy and satisfied because they have a nature of complaining about things, right. So this is what we are trying to understand. Job satisfaction is not only from the organizational point of view, it is also based on the personality of an individual, about the individual differences. We all know each person is different, right. No two people are alike. People have different understanding, people have different interest of their work, right. So this individual difference needs to be understood very well. If of a person having a certain interest and that kind of a particular work is being assigned to that person, like for example, people will be more satisfied with their example if a person has a desire to make an art, and if a person is going to get a job of an artist, then definitely this person will be happy doing the job. But if your interest lies somewhere else and you are doing something else, then it is difficult for you to get that satisfaction. And that is why we always say that a person should not choose the job, they should look into their interest. As per their interest, if they would be doing the job, it will give them more and more satisfaction, right. So here we have tried to understand two different dimensions of getting satisfaction. One is the conditions which are being provided by the organization to make you happy and satisfied at your work, whereas second is the individual's personality and their interest of doing that particular job will define you the satisfaction level. Another important aspect associated here is the pay, right. Definitely pay is the important component, but it is an important component up to a level. When individual reaches, or if a person reaches out to a certain level, then this kind of requirement of pay does not going to motivate you. As we can see, the effect of both pay level and discrepancies with others will become smaller once the individual reaches the standard level of comfortable living, right. But initially definitely this pay also creates a lot of understanding in knowing whether the employee is happy or not. Money does motivate people, we all know, right. It is important for the employers to be motivated by the right salary or right payment being made to them, but it is not important that what motivate us is going to make us happy. So this pay is another component which is being added, but the most important components are the conditions given in the job as well as a person's personality and their personal interests will define it more clearly. Now, if you look at the outcomes of the job satisfaction, if a person or the organization is able to make the employees happy and satisfied, then these would be the result we would be able to see. The very first is job performance, second is organization citizenship behavior will be there, customer satisfaction will be there, and life satisfaction more important. So, job performance, as you all know, if a happy person is there, if a person is satisfied with the job, then you can directly say that their job performance would be higher, right. They would be showing high efficiency in their jobs, they would be more effective and they would be more productive because they are happy doing their job. They are the satisfied people as compared to the people who are not satisfied. Second, like I said, organization citizenship behavior, you feel more associated with your organization. Citizenship behavior will be there, you feel always be a part of an organization, you identify yourself, your commitment towards the organization will become much higher, right. So, OBC includes people talking positively about their organization, they always make positive statements, they are always ready to help others, and they sometimes goes beyond their job typical expectations, right. So, this is a kind of an understanding which is going to be there if a organization is able to create a right set of attitude and a behavior in an organization where people are not going to work up to the limit, but sometimes they work beyond the limit because they associate themselves with the organization. So, evidence suggests job satisfaction is moderately related to the organization citizenship behavior, and satisfied people will more engage into citizenship activities. Customer satisfaction has also been seen through the satisfied employees. As we all know, happy employees produce happy customers, right. So, if your employees are happy with the job, because ultimately the set of employees are in direct contact with your customers, and customer will be customers will get the outcome from the employees only, right. So, if your employees are happy, if your employees are satisfied with the job, then they would be able to produce good customers, right, and your customers will be coming back to you again and again. Zappos is also one of the example you can take in here, where employees are being provided with lot of good conditions, they are being provided with the job as per their capabilities and their abilities. So, the employees are highly committed in the organization, and we see 75% are the repeated customers for this company because they are able to create better customer pool for the company. And at last, organization would be able to provide life satisfaction to the people, right. So, job satisfaction is different and life satisfaction is different. Life satisfaction decreases when people become unemployed. Definitely, if a person is not earning, if a person is unemployed, right. So, person's life satisfaction decreases, but if a person is happy with the job, they are happy with their life, they are satisfied with their life, right. And for the most of the individual, you can say working is the integral part of the life, right. Your job or the work which you do defines your life, and if you are happy doing your work, if you are satisfied with the work, assignments which are being given to them, you feel joyful. Now, coming to the last part of this session, where we are going to have our understanding on the impact of job dissatisfaction. This is again very important for us to understand what will be the impact if an employee is not happy or dissatisfied with the job. So, here we are going to discuss about 4 things. The very first is exit, voice, neglect and loyalty. So, these are the 4 important aspects which we are going to understand to know if an employee is dissatisfied. So, exit comes in the situation when a person is destructive as well as active, right. So, this walking out happens when physical and emotional abuse is being done in the organization, and this person might be leaving the job. Whereas, person will raise the voice if a person is active and constructive, right. If an employee is dissatisfied, but this employee is active in the organization and also having this constructive attitude, they would trying to seek some help rather than quitting the organization. They would look forward how things can be done better in a course of time, where they could be able to sustain with the organization and they would be able to change their attitude. Neglect comes when again the person is in a passive mode and into a destructive form of set, where they are ignoring and withdrawing from the partner and refusing to confront problem. Here they usually neglect the things, they do not want to get into it, right, they do not want anything to be get corrected or to think or the things become better, right. So, they go into the neglecting phase, whereas when a constructive person is there and the person is passive, then hoping for condition to improve, so that they would be able to make a new journey, because these are the kind of a loyal people towards the organization. Here you can understand them more better, where we have explained the 4 important components if the employee is not satisfied with the job. Exit, like I said, they are looking for the new positioning or reassigning, they will leave the organization because they are no more interested and they are not happy with the work which is being given to them. Whereas voice represent includes actively and constructively attempting to improve the condition, they are raising their concern, they are trying to help the management in understanding what are the things which are giving them dissatisfaction, where they are not happy, right. So, they are raising their voice towards it, so that they want things to become better. Whereas loyalty comes when a person passively but optimistically waiting for the condition to improve, right. They are not raising their concern, but they are still hoping the things which are not going right or which are not going in a correct direction, they might be coming back, right, they would be aligned in certain course of time. Whereas neglect is again a kind of an understanding where chronic absenteeism will be shown in the organization, people will come late, right, they will not get involved, they attach themselves with the activities in the organizations going around. Now, you can see counterproductive work behavior. If a person is not happy, then definitely this counterproductive work behavior will be shown. If an employee is happy, then organizational commitment will be there, but an employee who is dissatisfied with the system is going to show the absenteeism as well as the turnover. If you look at the summary of the session, managers should be interested in their employees' attitude, because attitude influences behavior and indicates potential problem. So, ultimately why are we talking about the attitude here in this session? Because we want to know the behavior of our employees, and creating a satisfied workforce is hardly a guarantee of successful organization, right. So, if you are able to create a satisfied workforce, does not mean your organization will be successful, but for sure your employees would be happy giving you the best of their performances, and this will help you to be more and more productive and increase your profit. If you talk about the implication for managers, if a manager needs to understand the job satisfaction and job attitude, job involvement in the organization, so that they could be able to define the right system for their people working in the organization, they have to measure their attitudes at the workplaces, and to raise employee satisfaction, we have to evaluate the right fit between the employees as well as the work which they do. These are the references for the session which is been taken from. Thank you all of you.